It is definitely fall here in Pennsylvania, guys. The temperature shows it. It's roughly 50 degrees today. Why does this matter? Let's talk about it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the vlog. Thanks for pressing play. Today, we are going to be doing a different kind of mod to the C8 Corvette Z06, and it's something that you guys can all most likely benefit from. And it is a cooling mod. Yeah, something we're going to do to the C8 Z06 that's going to keep it cooler. And this applies to any one of the C8 Corvettes in the lineup. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's get into it. All right, guys, there she is. The C8 Z06 looking purty as always. Gotta love that Seawolf Gray. But what are we talking about today? We are talking about two air deflectors. Yeah, air deflectors that install up underneath the car on the actual aluminum pan that sits right below the transmission. Now, these air deflectors, believe it or not, are OEM. These are made by GM. I personally hadn't heard about them until Brandon from Brandon's Garage brought it to my attention, and sure enough, these are OEM, and they exist for the C8 lineup, but there's a caveat, and that is that they're really built and made for the European spec C8 Corvette. So yeah, the car that GM exports over to Europe is the car that gets these by default. And the more research I did on these, the more I could not figure out why these are not offered for the American version. The benefits of these things are pretty astounding. And we're gonna actually measure it today. We're gonna go for a drive on a 50-degree day. Then I'm gonna come home, install these deflectors that I bought from GM. They have the part number, which of course I'll put in the description and right here on the screen. After we install those, we're then gonna go for the same drive and measure the heat difference between with and without them. One thing right off the bat that I noticed was these look very similar to something that I installed on my C7 Corvette ZR1. To get the C7 Corvette ZR1 ready for the track, there are actually little metal parts that bolt to the center tunnel brace cover on this car, and they actually scoop up air and push it back along the exhaust to keep the exhaust cool. These things for the C8 Z06 that I'm talking about, that we're going to be showing here in a second, remind me a lot of the parts for the C7 Corvette. And it was strictly a cooling mod for the C7 here in America, but yet the C8 Z06 doesn't get these in America. We're obviously going to talk a lot more about it as we go, but the first thing I'm going to do is jump in the car, take it for a ride to the dealership to pick up these parts. Then we're going to come back here, look at the parts, install them, and then make the exact same drive during the same degree temperature outside and use my laser thermometer to get actual temperature differences. Once you see where these install and how they're designed, you're going to say the same thing I did, which was, why aren't these made for the American car? I don't get it. This seems like a track package add-on, something that you should put on before going to the track, because where these things push the air to, there's a little bit of a scoop on them, is right on your headers slash cats. So those are the hottest parts of your engine bay. The headers and the cats are going to get the hottest back there. This is pushing cool air right onto them. Why aren't we getting this? Anyway, let's jump in the car, go for a ride, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna use my laser thermometer and see how hot this car got on 4 or 5 different points of the engine bay. Then we're gonna install these and do the same measuring. So let's do it. But you know we can't take the Corvette out without doing a cold start first, especially on a cold day. So we are about to take the car for a drive to get the baseline temperature here. We're going to measure a couple different spots in the engine bay with the digital or infrared thermometer, but we're also going to use the boosted lighting solutions. So if you guys haven't seen this, these are the lights in the engine bay for the coupe that allow me to have basically a OEM kind of lighting solution, but also very, very customizable. So this is also, if you can't tell here, it also has a thermometer in it, which means it's going to tell me the temperature of the engine bay. So I just started the car and right now it says 83.3. After our drive, we're gonna check it again.
1 hour later.
All right, so we are back and yeah, we're showing max temperature now is 144.5. So let's go ahead and measure some things with the digital or infrared thermometer, see where we're at. All right, so she's hot. I'm gonna try right here first. Looks like 132. Then we'll go on the actual cover, 154. We'll go on the actual header over here as well. 222 I saw. We'll check in the actual trunk down here. Wow, trunk is 146 degrees. All right, so the lights are up here, and obviously that's where we were getting the sensor for the temperature from. So we measured here, the intake cover, the actual header, and in the trunk. So that's a pretty good baseline for this. Next, we'll put those on and see how much these temperatures drop. So let's go ahead and get these things installed. And here's what we're dealing with, guys. This is it. This mounts on the bottom transmission pan or skid plate, the metal skid plate on the bottom of the C8 Corvette. Stingray, E-Ray, Z06, ZR1, they're all the same. And it's gonna mount exactly like it's sitting, just like that. So when it picks up air, it's gonna kind of like scoop it up into the engine bay instead of allowing it to just pass by. So these are the part numbers if you're interested. This is the right-hand side part number, OEM. And then of course, the left-hand side part number, OEM. Sometimes you can find these cheaper on eBay. They're really not super thick metal or anything, so it really doesn't matter if you get them on eBay or anything. As long as that shape is the same, it's gonna net you some air in that engine bay. So we're gonna see just how much of a difference these things make. Now, obviously you can tell the install of these things is gonna be pretty simple. It's gonna be 3 screws to hold them in place, and these are screws that already exist on that pan on the bottom. So we'll go ahead and get these zipped in, and then we're gonna go for another drive. So as you can see, the car is up in the air on the quick jacks. We do have the 2 pieces here. These are going to be installed in a way, like I said, it's going to scoop air up as you drive and kind of like angle it up into the engine bay to hopefully cool things down. We're going to find out now. So again, 3 screws per side. The screws are already on the bottom pan. This should be easy. So coming under the car, you can see the triangular openings on the skid plate here. That's how it's going to install. Now, if you look, there's 3 bolts already there. And from the side profile, that's the amount of air it's going to be scooping up. It's not horribly low, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem for scraping things or anything. But again, that scoop is going up into the engine bay. So right there is the part that will actually go all the way up in. That's it. That's all we're doing. So we're going to go ahead and remove the 3 E16 bolts here. And if you don't have that socket set, I'll link it down below because they are a special kind of bolt if you've never taken off this pan before. That's it. Now again, from the front, you can kind of see how that scoops up air, pushes it right up into the engine bay. So you can kind of see that scoop. So that's it. We're going to do the same thing on the other side, and then we're going to take this thing for a drive and see what kind of effect that has on the temperatures. Once again, guys, Brandon from Brandon's Garage is the one that brought this up to me, and after I did some research on it, it really seems like something that should be included in the track pack for these cars. It does seem like it's going to cool down the engine bay. I can't see this doing anything harmful to the car, so yeah, I'm kind of curious why the American cars don't get these parts in the same bag that like your brake cooling ducts and stuff come in, because this seems like that same kind of thing. But anyway, Brandon's Garage hooked me up on this and I love the idea. So these are the OEM parts. Now you'll see in his video, he did an aftermarket piece and also has a 3D print file that will allow you to actually 3D print these out of plastic if you want to go that route. So either way you cut it, I think these are going to do some good things. We're going to find out really soon here. So let's go test these things out.
The next day.
So here we are after about a half-an-hour drive after the install of the deflectors. We're going to check some temperatures. So let's check right here first. We're at about 87 degrees. The intake cover, about 98. And the big one there, oof, it's like about 160, 159, 170. Looks like about 184. 182, 184. Trying to keep it steady. Yeah, it's like 181, 184. That's definitely lower than it was. And then back here, just for giggles, 104. So I don't remember exactly what the temperatures were before, so I'll have to check those out. But let's see, I'm gonna connect to the lights back here and see what the temperature is from that sensor in the light as well. So the max temperature back here showed, you can see that 96.8. That's interesting. That's definitely lower by quite a bit. So I'm gonna get home, I'm gonna pull up the video footage of what we measured in here before and see where these temperatures kind of line up, because I know for sure this one back here is lower. It's reading between 175 and 184, and that's right off the header. So that's where these deflectors kind of deflect the air right up onto the header slash cat area. So the whole engine bay should be cooler, but the headers specifically are definitely going to be. But let's get back home, check out what the temperatures were before, and see how much of a difference there is. All right, so I'm back. I'm editing this footage as we speak here. So let's take a look at these numbers together. So I'm looking at the after number first, and we're looking at the left side on the carbon fiber on the engine bay. And the after number is 87.8 degrees. So let's take a look at the before number. 2. And oh my God. Can this even be accurate? 132. So that same area is 132 degrees. I actually thought I remembered that area being cooler on the first time around. 132 degrees compared to 87.9. Let's bust out the calculator here, guys. So 132 degrees minus 87.9. 44.1 degrees difference. In the beginning of this video, I said I didn't quite understand why GM isn't selling these things here, and these are only for overseas cars. I'm at a loss for words. Let's move on. Let's see what else we got. So on the after, we then go from there to the intake, and it shows at its highest point 97.9. So this is the after temperature. After we added the deflectors, the intake panels, the carbon fiber panels, are showing 97.9. Again, the intake panels are showing 154. Oh my God, I'm blown away here. I expected there to be a couple degrees difference at most. We're 44.1 degrees difference on the first part on the left-hand side of the trunk. And that part isn't really even that involved in the engine bay. 44.1 degrees difference right there. Moving on to the intake, the carbon fiber cover on the intake, it is showing 154.1 before we added the deflectors and 97.9 after. So let's see. That's a difference of 56.2 degrees. 56.2 degrees. This is insane. All right, let's move on to the next. This is the hottest area. This is the headers. So literally right on the headers, we are seeing before is 222 degrees. Let's see what after does. And for this after, we were bouncing between 183 to 185, 186. I'll even take it at the top, at the highest, 186. Now, for reference here, today was actually 2 degrees warmer than the day that I initially did the test. So it's warmer today with these deflectors, and we are getting substantially lower temperatures in the engine bay. These seem like the real deal. Now, again, these are made by GM. These are GM OEM products. So this isn't some fly-by-night company making these things thinking that they're going to reduce the temperature. GM is doing this, I assume, for engine temperature reduction. But why are they not given to the American cars? Let's move on. We measured a couple other points of temperature here. Let's see what else we got. So the next part was the trunk at the bottom. This is one that really shouldn't even be affected too much by these deflectors, outside of the deflectors helping push cool air in and hot air out of the hatch, basically. Now, the before number was 146 degrees. Let's see what the after number is. 104 degrees. So we go from 146 to 104, a 42 degree swing. I don't even know what to say. These numbers are so high. The reduction numbers are so high that it does not make any sense that GM is not selling these, or at least giving them to the Z07 packaged car, the more track-oriented vehicle. They're keeping the temperatures of this engine bay significantly cooler. Like I said, guys, I was expecting a reduction of 2 to 8 degrees at most. We're seeing 40 and 50 degree reductions here. That's incredible. Heat soak like this, of course, translates to lost horsepower. So if you're able to keep that engine bay and the engine itself cooler, you're going to maintain your horsepower for longer periods of time. This is a win. This is a total win. So guys, like I said, Brandon from Brandon's Garage kind of started this whole process. I got the OEM ones. We tested them. I know Brandon has seen a reduction as well, but I know his reduction is not as high as mine. So the only real difference based on talking to Brandon about it was the speeds we were driving. So obviously the faster you drive, the more air that's going to get forced up in there, the cooler your temperatures are going to be. Now, both of these drives, before and after, were both done on the same portion of highway doing reasonably the same speed. So they should, in my opinion, it should not be this much of a reduction, but I was going faster than Brandon was in his test. So Brandon saw a reduction as well, but not this significant because he was driving slower than I was. He was on a slower top speed road, I mean. This is huge, guys. Again, the part numbers have been listed, but I'll put them down here on the screen for you to see again. This is huge. Check these out if you want to keep your car running cooler. GM OEM parts. I mean, I can sit here and tell you about them all day long. I literally gain nothing from telling you guys about OEM parts. So this will do me no good as far as, selling them or anything. This is not me just trying to sell a product by any means. This is crazy. I'm blown away. Anyway, guys, that's the test. We are going to continue to test this, of course, throughout the time with the Z06 and these particular deflectors. So stay tuned for updated results coming, more talk about it. I know Brandon's got a couple things in the pipeline as well. This is good stuff. Anyway, guys, smash the thumbs up button if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And as always, stay obsessed.